Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today you are joining both myself and AJ for a pull session. So AJ is now kind of aligned with my split, so he's following the same split as me. And for definitely the push and pull sessions run pretty much a similar format. Leg days a little bit different, but he will hopefully be featuring in the videos moving forwards, which is a nice addition for you guys to see something other than me, but also because he is such a big, oh God, he's such a big part of my process, so it's nice to have him along, and he's far more knowledgeable and experienced than I am. So
that's not true, actually.
It is. That's not a bad thing. You've been doing this since I was basically a child, so.
That's incriminating. I think we'll take that bit out, Joe.
No, but in all seriousness, it's nice to have him in the session. Update on myself. I am actually just dipped into the 9-week out mark, I think, now, which is really weird to think I'm actually in like single digits. So the week's ticking along. I'm feeling really good. So we actually just did 2 high days the past couple of days, which you'll have seen in my last vlog video if you've watched that. And yeah, I definitely feel a lot better. And that tells me that I needed them, because I think towards the middle of last week, before we called the high days, I was feeling a bit draggy, which I wasn't feeling like bad, and I wasn't like super down or anything, but you just will notice that you get to a point where, you know, energy is lower and you aren't feeling quite your usual self, and you might just think, oh, it's just the diet and I need to crack on. And yeah, to an extent there's some days where you'll feel like that, but there's also a point where like you shouldn't feel like that all the time. So now I feel a lot fresher, ready to go. Had a great push session yesterday, so we're ready to crack on with a good pull session today, and looking forward to taking you guys along. So this session follows a very, very similar format to the last pull session that you guys have seen. Both of my pull sessions are pretty much the same because they work well. I'm hitting everything I need to hit. The layout works well. The volume is good. The movements are good. So there's like a couple of different exercises, like the pull down's different. And yeah, that's actually pretty much it. But I'll guide you through that as we go along. But the reason being is, like I say, it works. You know, I don't need to do anything different. I think that sometimes there will maybe be a layout where if you need to like bias certain muscle groups, or you need to hit certain body parts, you need a bit more volume for your upper back, whatever it may be, you might have different movements in different sessions. But like the main premise of a push session, a pull session, a leg session, training in general, like there's going to be a format that's pretty similar. So if you need variety just to make the session enjoyable, and that's like important to you, then amazing. But for me, I'm very much like, if this works, this is good, I'd rather just keep it the same and just keep going at it. And if that's going to give me the results, then that is honestly the most important thing that matters to me. Yeah, good, come on.
Ow!
Yeah, good, come on. Out. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Lovely.
Oh, all right. One of the best things you can use in your bodybuilding toolbox is being able to make decisions critically yourself, with the sole reason being that it works for you. Like, someone might ask, okay, why do you hold straps when you're doing something like this? And I could give you a complex answer explaining shit like radiation and stuff like that. Or I could just tell you that it feels good and that I worked out that it felt good. People now are so scared to do stuff just because it feels good. And especially young athletes, people following Loz, they're almost in this trend of needing permission to do something a certain way. So don't be afraid of doing something a certain way. If it's not the way that Loz does it, or I do it, just because it feels good. Like, that's a great rationale for doing something. And just don't be afraid of that.
On movements like these, very similar I suppose to when I do like lateral raises, I'm never really going for anything stupidly heavy or anything extremely low rep, especially at the start of the session, because one, I'm probably way more likely to actually break down in my execution, but also just the connection that I'm then able to get with what is such a small muscle group. You're probably going to find that actually starting with some slightly higher rep ranges and some slightly lighter loads is going to feel better. So that's honestly one of the main issues that so many people find with like generally delt training, I suppose, more than anything else, is that they're just going too heavy and going for too lower reps to the point where then they can't actually execute the movement properly and they can't actually get a good stimulus and feel themselves train the muscle group. So I know it's a very simple blanket statement, but if on some of those movements you are struggling to get a connection at the start, just kind of pull it down a little bit, go for something that is a little bit lighter, something that is higher rep, you can actually get a good amount of give play there. You'll probably find that the movement and all of the sets feel so much better and they're so much more productive. Yes, lovely. Nice. Powerful, come on. Yeah, good. Yes, 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 good, all the way. Nice.
Oh, fuck.
There you go.
Lovely, let's go. Yes.
No.
Quality. Beautiful.
So we actually run the Nautilus pull down this session. We literally have just said that we're going to just run this in both sessions because as much as that is great, it does take a lot to kind of set up and faff around the plates, especially when we're training together as well. And like session efficiency is important. I think that if you want to spend all day setting something up and moving the plates around or making something fancy, like amazing. But in my opinion, I think that going in and being able to keep good focus, keeping good pace of the session, not rushing, but like not basically detracting your focus by moving loads of plates around, doing loads of other things. Like I was even doing the plate loaded Nautilus pull down version of this, and I was having to load up plates, and that pulls away from my energy of what I can actually give into the sets. So there's nothing wrong with swapping something out for something that's more convenient. It gives you better work in the session. Good. Nice. Good, go ahead, come on.
Up, up. Lovely. Yeah. Oh. Oh.
Yes, good, come on.
So in a day and age where we're always chasing feel and contractions and trying to stay on a muscle, don't forget about power. Don't forget about oomph. This is something that I've had to start to blend into Loz's training a little bit more. This is probably the first thing that we tried to blend in, was just getting after sets. And then as soon as we realized, okay, right, I need to place a little attention towards some body parts which need a little bit more focus on maybe execution. So we started to dial back that tempo a little bit and maybe start to find that feel again. And then it's a case of ramping that up with that enhanced feel, with the power. But the bottom line, and the real take-home message there, is that start training with power first. Then worry about the finer details and whether you're on the muscle a little bit later. Because who cares whether you're on the muscle if you're not even putting power into it? Power is important for creating concentric force. If you have no concentric force, you're going to be moving no weight. And then the muscle doesn't even know anything. You're just moving through space. So I can feel my lat with no weight. Just because I've got a feel, that doesn't mean I'm actually creating a stimulus for growth.
Yeah, good. Come on, keep going. Yeah, come on. Down. Yeah, good. Yep. Yes, good.
Side note on that, if you're worried about the power being placed in the wrong direction or placed with intent on the wrong muscle, pause in the stretch, get tension on the muscle, then put power into it. That's a great way to have intent, is lay the stretch on that target muscle and then put power into it. And you'll find that your contractions will improve, your MMC, mind muscle connection, will improve, and your body parts that you're taking through that range, taking through that movement, will improve as well. Yes, good.
No. Another problem, or one of the biggest problems with people being too scared to do anything that doesn't look perfect, is that they never do anything that like really challenges them, anything that's like really hard, which obviously has its own benefits. But when you look at doing a set that is heavy, that is really, really difficult, you get this benefit of like the load relativity. So then once you go back to doing something that is like a little bit lighter, that maybe previously felt heavy, it now feels easy in comparison because you've done something that is so much more difficult. And that's the benefit of like constantly pushing and testing your limits and not being afraid to do things, because the first time you do anything, it's never going to look perfect. The first time you do anything that's challenging, it's never going to look perfect. But you keep doing it and you make it better, and you let the benefits of doing that challenging work cross-transfer and bleed into everything else as well.
One, two, three. My bar.
Nice. Yeah, good. Nice, powerful, come on. Yes. Come on then. Drive it through. Yes! Come on. Come on, AJ. Let's go, let's go, let's go. All you, all you, all you, all you. Good. Nice. Whew. Now.
Yes, good. Lovely. Chest up. Yes, come on, power, power, let's go. Drive through, drive through, drive through, drive through. Yes, yes, yes. Lovely. Yes. Tiny touch.
Oh, there are two options that I think you should take when it comes to creating maximum focus in a set. So one is that you shut your eyes and you fully immerse yourself in just the feel and what you're physically doing, or you create a visual focal point. The worst thing that you can do in a set is have no idea where your eyes are looking, and then you're just kind of all over the place, because one, you're very likely to then get distracted by the things, but you're simply just not driving all your focus into the work that you're doing. Like, one of the best things I can do when I'm trying to see where a client's focus is during a set is just look at their eyes, look at what they're looking at. If you're all over the place like this, you're probably not entirely focused on what you're doing. So either close your eyes and be present, or create a focal point so that you can then just drive all of your energy and all of your intent on what you're actually trying to do in the movement. Anyway, that's chest supports row done. Moving on to the Cybex row again. So as I said, it's pretty much the exact same setup, or at least kind of like order of movements as the previous session. It works. As I said at the start, I don't like to just do different things for the sake of doing different things. If anything, that kind of messes with me more, because I like to keep things very much the same. So 2 sets done there. Now I move on to 2 sets on here. Literally, I'll also just do like one feel here. I'm just feeling the movement, and that's it. You don't need to mess around with loads of warm-ups toward the end of the session. Remember, your warm-ups are there to literally get you as ready as you need to be for the set without actually pulling away from the sets themselves. Like, there's obviously different ways of programming, and some people intentionally like to treat their warm-up sets as kind of like feeder sets to pull away from their working sets, and that can be great if you're actually trying to minimize load, or you're trying to minimize the intensity of your working sets. But if the goal is to drive maximum intensity and get everything out of your working sets, do not waste energy that you do not need to in the work leading up to those. Yeah, good, come on. Strong, strong, come. Down, down, down. Yes, good. Boom.
Lovely. Lovely, come on. All right, I'm with you. One more, let's go. Yes, that's you, that's you, that's you. Good. Nice.
Nice, come on. Yeah, good. And again. Down we go. Go again, go again, come on.
One of you.
Lovely. Good.
Fuck. Oh shit.
One thing that you'll see when myself and AJ spot each other is that we're not just suddenly taking all the load off of them when they need that spot, or even spotting through the machine. The best thing that you can do if you're spotting someone is to try and guide the body part, or like in this case, like guiding his hand, and just help them, like I say, guide them to get that rep fully short or to finish that rep. The worst thing that you can do, like I say, is to literally take all of that load off of them, and to also do it via the machine as well. Because if you're using the machine, you're suddenly just moving the machine and taking all the load off. One, you're pulling away from like their rep, and it can actually feel a bit like unsafe and a bit weird for the actual person performing the set, because suddenly like that load is just taken away from them. You're there to spot and guide, not to do the rep for them. If you have a training partner, you both have to have a very good level of understanding and communication of what the other person needs, because it's not just a one-way relationship, it's a two-way relationship. So what that means is you need to know how much you want them to give and how much you need to also give to them. So having a really good awareness of that, like it's taken me a good amount of time, or it did initially, to learn, you know, how to spot AJ properly and how to conduct myself through the session. And just on that note in general, like remember, your training partner is not just there for you. You know, you also need to be there for them. It's a give and take relationship, you know. And I really like that with having AJ here, because it keeps me accountable to show up for him. You know, not just being here in the session for myself. And that is really, really important, because everyone always talks about, oh, this person this, or when they're thinking about the training partner, like, what are you bringing to the table? Like, are you bringing negative energy into the session, or are you actually like firing the session up as well? You know, you can't just expect everything for you. Every single relationship requires a little bit of give and take at points. That's 3 sets on the prime back pull down boxed off. Last time we did this pull session, I did the standard cable pull down. I don't think that the prime was back in when we did that session. But that is one of my favourite upper back pull down machines. So that's back in. So that's, I suppose, a little bit of a difference that that's been put in, but I'll probably just keep that in both sessions, because like I say, I like it, it works. So there's no need for me to add anything else in if I don't need to. The only other difference then that I have with this session is that I actually do 2 sets on the Nautilus back extension at the end. And that is simply just to load my erectors a little bit more. So this is the pull session that I do before legs, where I don't hinge. So in my other session, I don't do any lower back loading, because I'm then hinging like literally 2 sleeps afterwards. Whereas here, like, yes, I've got a externally stabilized squat pattern in my other session, but like that's not really beating up my lower back in the same way that hinge does. So to still get some erector loading and still load my lower back, I have this in at the moment. You know, you could do like a bent over row, you could do you know, a dumbbell row that's like not chest supported or whatever it is, to get a little bit of lower back loading in, which is something I think is very important. It's a reason why a lot of people get on stage and they've not really got any erectors, is because they're scared to load the lower back. Like, and the problem is that they're scared to load their lower back because their lower back's not strong, but their lower back's not strong because they're scared to load their lower back. Like, you need to actually get some like good lower back loading in. Yes, be safe, but you need to develop your erectors, not just from a physique standpoint, but to actually be strong in other movements. Do you know how many movements you're loading your lower back? or even just like having a little bit of strength, a bit of stability, a bit of muscle there is helpful. So don't be afraid of doing that. But I've got this here just because it means I can still do all of my other direct back work as I need, and then have this in at the end, which in like an off-season setting, as I say, maybe I'd do like a bent over row or something. But now, as I'm a lot leaner, it makes more sense for me to do that direct work and then just do some like, again, direct erector loading at the back end of the session. No. Oh. Finish off with some arm work. So today's movements, I had dumbbell hammer curls, which are like one of my absolute favorites. I feel like I can really kind of just get some decently heavy dumbbells. I know they're only 8 kilos, but for me that's heavy. Get some strong curls in. That for me is what fires up my biceps. Like if I was to then start my bicep work on a cable and just like really try and squeeze, like that for me doesn't give me a great connection. Like doing stuff like that gives me a good connection, gets me going. And then I go in and I do behind the body deep elbow curls, which I suppose like I'm being a little bit more protective of in terms of like keeping nice and fixed, but I'm still making sure that I do some like, well, the strongest and most intense work I can on arms, because that is still important. So that's boxed off, and then 3 sets of abs. As always, do those, as I said, in pull and in legs, just to stay on top of my ab training. One thing that is very, very important to remember with ab training is to train your abs. I know that sounds silly, but I think that especially when it comes to like a rope crunch, as with a lot of other movements, people want to look good. They want to position themselves in a way that is flattering. But in order to actually train the abs, as we want to, you're not going to be in flattering positions. You know, you need to come into spinal extension and you need to actually come into spinal flexion. So that means that you're probably not going to be able to keep your bum back, your hips back. You need to actually come into spinal flexion and actually get your abs short, contract your abs. So as much as I know sometimes we want to look good, and you might even just be a little bit self-conscious of thinking like, oh, do I look good while I'm doing this? Like, don't worry about how you look, worry about training the muscle group as you need to, because that's ultimately why we're here. You know, we want to make sure that we're actually getting the stimulus that we want from it, and I'm sure that you actually want some good abs. So make sure that you are actually feeling your abs, feeling a good stretch as you come up, and you're actually feeling yourself contract your abs as you come down. So pull yourself down, keep your elbows fixed. So lock your lats in like this, Do not move your lats, because that's another thing, is people basically do like a little bit of a mix of a lat pullover with their rope crunches. So you want to keep your lats locked in, elbows are fixed, the only thing that's moving is your spine. So set yourself in, hips position, locked in, and then we just focus on nice extension, nice stretch, and down there.
Right, wrapping up.
Yeah, how was your session?
Really good, actually. Yeah, very happy with that. Always with a back day without a hinge, obviously it's a lot shorter. I feel a lot less smashed and my back feels a lot more stimulated. So, you know, for people that struggle with their back training, typically doing your back training without a hinge is probably a smart idea. You know, putting your hinge onto a leg day, if you can get away with that with the rest of your training setup, it's probably smart. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, well, that's exactly why we set up my session the way that we did as well, because I just needed a little bit more focus towards my back as opposed to my glutes and my hamstrings. But yeah, I've had a good session as well today. I actually felt really good. Definitely way more oomph in this session off the back of the 2 high days that we've just ran, which is good. That's what we want. But yeah, other than that, it's just a case of ticking along. The weeks are really flying by. I was saying I'm actually into the 9 weeks now, so
into the 9 weeks.
Into the single digits. But yeah, other than that, guys, that's pretty much everything to say for this video. Thank you so much for following along as always. Thank you, AJ, for joining us today for this one. Hopefully there'll be in future ones as well. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, share, all that amazing stuff, and we will catch you in the next one.